Back in 1953, a designer called Abraham Games was commissioned to design later on that would be the original BBC logo. And the design was simple. When you look at it, it was just basic blocks with letters in them. The unique thing about this old logo, in comparison to what they're using right now, the original logo typography was italicized, as you can see. In 1963, I think they made a decision to also italicize or slant the blocks. And when you look at this compared to the original, that's the only difference. Like, I don't think there is anything that changed there. The typography remained the same. They were using Universe, that font by Fritiga. And it's an amazing font. I'm really even fascinated that that's the font they used. Close to a decade later, they decided to revamp their original logo. And this is what they went with. And for me, when I compare this to the original logo, the only differences I see, it's the introduction of these colored elements or strokes, at the bottom of the blocks. And also they decided now to kill the rounded edges back to the sharp edges of the blocks. And also one thing I noticed, when you look at the typography, I think they made a decision to retire Universe, and then they went with a Vertica new, if I'm right. But that was back in 1988. Almost close to 2 decades later, they made a decision to rebrand now to what has been in service for all this long. Back in 1997, so BBC decided now to revamp the version they had gone with in 1988, and now going with something that has served almost to close to 3 decades, which is the current logo they have just redesigned. And it's not more like a redesign when you look at what people are saying, that it's an optical, iteration, and we've got to dive in and try, understand what really happened here. So let's talk about this part that makes people mad, the budget. Everyone is mad about the budget. Like, there is no way that this could cost them millions of dollars to just make this change. I mean, if you're not a designer, honestly, even myself, I'm a designer, but I'm struggling to justify millions of dollars on this rebrand. But then when you scale this back to how these things happen in the background, maybe this is where I can bring in some clarity for those of you guys who feel the same, that there's no way this could cost that much. Let's first scale this back to, typefaces. So when you're a logo designer and you're trying to use a typeface, there's a process that you need to go through to, get a license to start using this typeface. And the owners of this typography or typefaces are called foundries. And a foundry is more of like a designer who puts together these characters and then sells you, families of fonts. And then you buy licenses for, individual purposes. Now, talking about purpose, when you're buying a license from any foundry, the most important thing to understand is you cannot buy one license for everything. If you try to use this font for commercial production, say you want to feature it in a movie or a commercial, there's a certain sort of license you need to buy separately. If you're planning to use, say, this typography on your website, say blog, that is a separate license. If you're trying to buy this typography, say you're using it in your mobile application, that is another separate license. And it's complex, right? Young designers don't get mixed up into these scenarios because you're not an enterprise yet. But if you're a big corporation and you're working with designers, you need to make sure, you need to be safe to license different platforms so that you don't get in lawsuits for using someone's typography without a license. So let me show you this example from, say, Monotype. And what's fascinating, these are the guys who own rights for the Gilson's typeface. So now getting to their website, I want to go to that part where you now begin licensing, right? So it goes on to show you that they have 2 categories. They have projects and enterprise. So now when you scroll down, this is what I've been meaning. They have say a website kit. So this is more of things to do with the digital space. You're trying to say use the typography on your website, as I mentioned. And then now they have digital campaigns and mobile app kit. But then when you scroll right here on the feature side, on the left, you can see that they have a commercial production font or license. You can use it 5 times. So to get one of these options, you need to pay $7,500 every year. That is crazy, right? And this is just project. We've not gotten to enterprise. And what you get, like for instance, like monthly web page views. So they charge you by how many people visit your website. That is crazy. So for a company like BBC, I'm familiar that they are seated close to something like what, like hundreds of millions every month. Like, it's crazy. So imagine if they pay 7,000 or 7,500 for just 10 million views, and their traffic sits somewhere between 300 and 500 million views. That means it already doubled, like it already, like, you know, quadrupled, like what they pay annually. They could pay close to, say, $50,000 every year just for the typography. That is insane. So let's get to that part where I show you, say, enterprise. Yeah. So when you go to the enterprise side, I think this is where they crank up, like, say, web views, web page views, and then monthly digital impressions. Even they charge you for the banners. If you run an ad and that typography is one of theirs, you pay a monthly traffic license. And right here, like, they show you that you will pay $20,000 for only 100 million views. That is insane. I think BBC sits somewhere, to be exact, somewhere between 300 and 500 million views or traffic or whatever you want to call it. And this, I think they're charging you per impression. So now this example goes to show you that if BBC says moving with BBC Wraith Sans is a way to save money, I mean, there's no way I can doubt that. Compared that this font or Gill Sans costed them beyond, millions of dollars. Like, look at how long they have used this typography and try to scale that back to, say, a minimum of, say, what, $200,000 per year just to use this typeface. I don't think it's worth it. I think them using this, a typeface they own intellectual properties for, I think it's a best direction, in my opinion. But also, I don't know why this is not like common knowledge. Like, I don't know why people don't know these things yet, that a company like Google or BBC randomly don't just download fonts, cheaply like that. They don't do it like that. They have to put a cost on table to license this typography. And I made a clip recently on my Instagram, and this was more of like telling designers how they can start making extra income. They should start charging for those, fonts, because if you use a font and you don't charge a client for it, people won't start understanding that there is nothing like a free font. So now getting to that part where I share my design opinion or just critiquing the logo. Honestly, I feel like there is nothing to share here. I feel like for me, it was a strategical move and I really love it. I feel like there was more lesson to learn from this logo, that if your client out there and you're using a font that you didn't get a license for, you need to task your designers to tell you the truth. Because somewhere in between, your company will grow, right? You start making all these crazy revenues and then the font comes after you. And it's gonna cost you heavy, because they will track all the way back to all the material collateral that you've attached this typography to, and you have to pay double because it's a penalty and usage illegally. Like, think about it. So for me, I feel like this video had more way to help me educate my young designers out there. And also, like, if you're a client and you're watching this, if you're a company and you're watching this, start thinking about licensing or even like commissioning a designer to design you a typography or a typeface. Like, there's no way you can save yourself without doing that. So for me, that is what I would say. It's more of my design, thought. But besides that, I think I love the thought of, like, increasing the spacing between these blocks to help them breathe a bit. It makes it feel like a bit elegant how it looks, say, at small size and bigger, scaled out versions. But besides that, I feel, I like the typeface. But yeah, so for those of you guys who are interested in these kind of videos, let me know whether we should double down on these. But if you're new on this channel, I've done so many logo reviews. You can just go watch them on my channel. And don't forget to, smash that like button and subscribe and share this video. Let your friends know that this guy talks about design in life. If you're interested in buying me a cup of coffee, I'll put a link for you in the description. But yeah, besides that, I'll keep enjoying this cup of coffee as I let you guys go. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers. Cheers.